All right, here we go. It's that time where we review the books that you want to see. So let's go to the GMG review show. Hey, all right, so hey everybody, welcome to the GMG review. Today we are back in 2022 with a new Warhammer 40k Codex review, courtesy of the folks at Games Workshop. They sent me this nice sample for us all to check out. So I did paint up the Shadow of Throne box back in December, played some games with it, kept my eye on the previews and stuff. So I know a little bit about this army. I mean, more than I know about most 40k armies, let's be honest. I have so many editions of 40k in my head at this point that every time I have to learn a new codex, I can taste purple for about half an hour and forget grade 3. So we're going to dive in today and have a look at this book. And I'm going to do my best, as usual, to check out what's new, what's exciting, what's cool, what I think is fun, and, of course, share that with you guys. So let's dive in. What do we got here? We got a 9th edition book, which means it comes with a cool, handy code to unlock the book digitally on the GW's 40k app. It's 104 sexy pages, kind of amalgamating what was in, I think it was War of the Spider? War of the Spider? Yeah, it wasn't Faith and Fury, it was War of the Spider, I'm pretty sure. One of the 8th edition campaign books that basically brought the Custodes Codex, which was an early 8th edition, maybe even late 7th edition book, no, it wasn't 8th edition book, up in line with like the late 8th edition books, by giving it some tricks, some Talons of the Emperor stuff, some new stratagems and whatnot. Now, I will say this is kind of a pared down, it's got new things, but it's kind of pared down as well. You get exactly one new model of the Blade Champion. We already seen his profile. He was in the sweet, whatchamacallit, Shadow Throne box that Jay and I painted up and played through. And that's really it. We got the War, I think War of the Spider had the duo box, Valerian and Atreyu, Artia, A-name, it's escaping me. Who are available obviously now as well. But those were the things outside of the initial codex launch that kind of got rolled in. You got some beautiful background art. It really does paint the Custodes in a very interesting light. There's some stuff from the point of view of like they're scribes. This bit about Theodoric and like he's basically got no tongue. He just sits there like doing the history of the Imperium from the point of view of a Custode as best he can in a specific language. And there's like thousands of these guys basically recording everything that they know about what's happening in the Imperium. It's kind of interesting. And then like it's just basically an overview of these guys. How they are the best of 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 the best. They're the Emperor's own creation. No one really knows how they work. They're still being manufactured. It's like a super huge honor for Earth's children to be given to these guys and turned into a custodian guard. There's 300 loyal companions that just stand around the Golden Throne morning, noon, and night. They stand for weeks and weeks at a time, and they get a break. And then after a couple hundred years, they get sent off to go do other work. And then now the other 9,700 of them have been unleashed on the Imperium after Robert Gilliman is returned to the Imperium from a long time in stasis. He had a big talk with Trajan Valoris, the head of the Custodians. And they've basically just been in like the naughty box for 10,000 years. They feel like they let the Emperor down, and they haven't really been like crusading outside the walls. And Bobby G's just like, yo, we need you guys, get out there. The Imperium's gonna fall apart. And then of course it does. And the Cicatrix Maledictorum happens. And now they're just out doing stuff. And I think it's funny that there's 10,000 of them, and they're like the hardest to make things ever out there, beating people up in the Imperium. You also get a really cool overview of like the black ships, and apparently, by the way, this wasn't the first time there was a Gene Stealer cult on Earth. The Codex is kind of like, yeah, we talk about how it was a big deal that this thing got on, but it's happened a couple times. Let's be honest. There's a lot of places on Earth to hide, and we do a lot of like having to beat up these Gene Stealers very often. I get a background on Trajan, how the shield companies work. And I do like that effectively the shield company is like a patrol in regular 40k. It's a shield captain, couple troop choices, your banner bearer, your terminators, and then a unit of bikes. And that's almost 2,000 points. That's a lot of guys. If those are 10-man squads of custodian guards and like big Alris squads, that's easily 2,000 points. It's cool that like a 40k army is just this little shield company potentially, walking around. They do use Contemptor Dreadnoughts to put all their half-dead guys that can still fight in. And then you get all the different shield companies. Now, shield companies are interesting because they're not really formal associations. They're like, think of it like a joint task force of some like government organization that's put together of people from different branches or different skills and talents to go out and do a job. The only thing is that some of these jobs have needed to be done for like 10,000 years since the Great Crusade ended, and that's why these specific ones are like still around. But you could easily make up your own shield company, not give it any rules in particular, but have like your own name and background for it, and like cherry pick the rules you like, because they bubble up and go away. And that's why there's kind of the core one, which is just like, yo, we're custodians, and then these specific ones that have been formed to go and do special jobs. But the cool thing is that the yo, we're just custodians one, they have well, we'll see in a minute, but they have an ability to basically take other people's skills by being like, hey, you guys were part of that shield company over there for a while, weren't you? Oh yeah, we were. And then they go and they do it. They steal their abilities basically for a turn. And we got a cool color section. Hey, again, just the 6 different shield hosts, or 5 different shield hosts? Yeah. Solar Watch, the Emissaries, Imperatus, the Shadowkeepers, the Keelan Shield, and the Dread Host. All your cool Sisters of Silence, who are now, of course, just like folded in basically, even though they're a separate organization, they're folded into as the Talons of the Emperor, basically the space cops on Terra that are charged with now patrolling the entire galaxy, which I think is fascinating, because like you have a whole Space Marine chapter who's I guess only 1,000 guys, but you know, ostensibly, and their job is like, oh, you get to patrol like just this one system or this cluster or this like subsector, and then these 10,000 custodians are watching the entire galaxy all the time out in their ships, which I find interesting. So anyway, color section. And you're all screaming at me to get to the rules. There we go. I knew it wouldn't take that long. So the rules, or as I like to call it, the part that you're here watching me for, we've got the standard 9th edition breakdown, Battleforge rules, Army rules, Match Play rules, Crusade stuff, and I will actually jump into the Crusade stuff here because it's pretty short and it's kind of neat. Your data sheets, war gear, and then point values. And a command patrol. So we can all assume this is coming out at some point, which is kind of cool. And it's a box of Virtus Praetors. It looks like a box of Custodian Guards, and then 2 boxes of like the Sisters of Silence. So you could very easily make like patrol. So troop choice, shield captain, Virtus Praetors, elite choice, troop choice, elite choice. So you'd have HQ, troops, and they're full troops too. We'll get to that in a minute too. This is crazy. Elites, and then fast attack. So that's eyeballing that. That's like 150 for them. That's 110. That's like almost 300. This is a good 1,000 points almost. If you're paying to like upgrade him and stuff, you could probably creep up on 1,000 points. All right, so detachment abilities. Let's get crazy. So Custodes Detachments is one that only includes Custodes, excluding models with the Anathema, Psychana, Agent, Imperium, or Unaligned keyword. So interesting there, you can use Imperial Agents like Inquisitors, you can use all of your Sisters of Silence, and still be Battleforged as a Custodes unit. So you can mix and match basically and still be Custodes. You gain Emperor's Legion, Host of Heroes, and Watchers of the Throne. Adeptus Custodes units in the detachment gain the Shield Host fighting style ability, so your sisters don't, neither your, like your unaligned models. And then the Custodes Infantry and Anathema Psychana troops units in the Custodes detachments gain objectives secured. So Adeptus Custodes Infantry units break, and Anathema Psychana troop units in Adeptus Custodes detachments gain objectives secured. So that means that your prosecutors have OBSEC, great, 60-point OBSEC, everyone was excited about that. But all of your Custodes infantry has objectives secured. I mean, they're the Guardians of Terra, that's cool, but that means that like your Alvarez Terminators are OBSEC, your Captains are OBSEC, Trajan's OBSEC, they're just all OBSEC. I could be reading that wrong, I don't think I am, because it just says Adeptus Custodes infantry units and Anathema Psychana troops units in the Custodes detachments gain OBSEC. So there's a separation there. That's crazy. That's super cool. For a huge low model count army, everything being OBSEC I think is amazing. And here's the reason why I'm pretty sure I'm right. I mean, I can mostly read English, although people will throw their shoes at the screen now when I say that. Each Adeptus Custodes model counts as one additional model when determining control of an objective marker, and this is cumulative with any other rules that make them count as additional models. So, and there's ways of doing that too. So So there you go. So even your characters count as 2 models for OBSEC, and everything's OBSEC. This is super cool. And then you can also have an Anathemus Icana detachment. So if you just wanted to include Valerian, so you can't include any Custodes, Agents of the Imperium and unaligned models, then all of your troop units gain OBSEC, and that's it. So you could just play a purely Sisters of Silence army with 3 unit types, a single leader type, all the Agents of the Imperium, and Valerian. And that's it. This is still cool. All right, so let's see what you get for being a Custodes detachment. You get Emperor's Legion. You cannot include more Anathemus Icana troops units than you do Custodes troop units. Fair, so no spamming just those dudes. You cannot include more Anathemus Icana HQ units than you do Custodes HQ units. Also fair, but you're probably just taking patrols. It's not a huge deal. And you cannot select an Anathemus Icana model as your warlord. Obviously, they're not going to lead your army if you're a Custodes army. Then Host of Heroes, you can only include 1 of each type of shield captains, so 1 Guardian, Alaris, and Virtus in a Custodes detachment. Watchers of the Throne. For the purpose of Lookout, sir, Custodes Infantry and Adeptus Custodes Biker models count as 2 models for friendly Adeptus Custodes character models of the same shield host. So that means that if you just have 2 Custodian guards staying next to Trajan, he's -1 to hit, because they count as 2, because they're trained bodyguards, you know, whatever. And then Shield Host fighting style. Each Shield Host has its own way of waging war and particular traits. All Adeptus Custodes units gain this ability, and all the models in them gain a Shield Host fighting style, as long as every unit in the detachment is the same Shield Host. The fighting style gain depends on the Shield Host they're assigned to. And then Shield Host. So we've seen this in Warhammer. I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but you get your fighting style, your Warlord trait. They can have it, but they don't have to have it. Your Stratagems and your Relics of Terra. So you get 4 things basically for each one, 2 of which, and 1 of which is 2 things for your traits. So I really like the core one. This is Emperor's Chosen. Everybody starts off as this. Basically, these are like, if you're playing vanilla Custodes, that's who these guys are. You get your Shield Host fighting style, which is Magna Imperador, and this is super handy and kind of supports the whole MSU idea. Every time a unit with this trait selected to shoot or fight, you can reroll a hit roll or wound roll when resolving their attacks. So you just have a built-in CP reroll on every unit, every time they're selected to shoot and fight. So it's not a turn, it's when they're selected to shoot and fight, which means during your opponent's turns, if multiple units attack them, if they get to attack multiple times for some reason. Very cool. And then trait 2, each time a model in this unit would lose a wound as a result of a mortal wound. Roll a d6 on a 4+, that wound's not lost. They still have their built-in 6+ shrug, but 4+ mortal wound shrug on a teeny tiny army is a huge deal. An absolutely huge deal. And then their martial kata that they like is Rendax. Basically, when you have your preferred martial kata, it's like you can double down on them once per game. So you have your preferred martial kata once per battle. When you select one of their kata stances to be active for the turn, you can also use this ability, and if you do so, this one also becomes active at the same time. So they can double down Rendax on top of another martial kata during the course of the game. They have their own Esteemed Amalgam, Emperor's Chosen. So for 1 CP, you just pick a different shield host for a unit, and you get to use their fighting style for the turn until the next command phase. So if I just want to be, I don't know, a Shadowkeeper for a turn, or if I want to be a whatever for a turn, they can basically cherry pick other traits for specific units. Really handy for like, that you might only have 1 of these in your army units, like your, let's say, Virtus Praetors, right? If they need to, I don't know, be able to reroll wounds, although you could kind of already do that if you wanted to all reroll wound rolls, if you're fighting a character. So you want to be Shadowkeepers for a turn. The units with engagement of them be -1 to hit or -1 attack, and then each time a model unit makes an attack against a character unit, you can roll the wound roll. So let's say you send your Virtus Praetors to go fight a knight, which could all be characters all of a sudden, because a lot of times knight armies, they've got like the vaults open and everybody's a character. They're all rerolling wounds against knights all of a sudden. And when you've got like a strength 8 spear on the charge, that could be really, really important. It's a lot better than just one model or in the unit can reroll 1 wound roll. Now they're just, they're hitting on 2s and everything's rerolling every wound roll. It's a really handy 1 CP stratagem. Your Warlord gets Auric Exemplar. So each time this Warlord fights, after resolving all its attacks, it can make a number of additional attacks equal to the number of enemy models destroyed as a result of its attacks during the fight, to a maximum of 4. So if he dips in with his 2 damage Guardian Spear and just dumps just, I don't know, 5 Marines or 6 Marines, he could just do 4 more attacks on top of it. This is a pretty cool ability. It's situational with the army you're fighting against though, so I don't know if it trumps some of the other ones that come later on. And then you get a Paragon Spear. It just replaces a Guardian Spear. It's got a cool gun, strength 5, -1, 2 damage. It's basically the regular spear attack. And then its melee attack is +3, -5, 2 damage. So real good at stabbing, much better at shooting. Then you got your Shadowkeepers. Their traits are -1 attack if you're engaged with them, and then reroll wound rolls against characters. Their stratagem is Grim Responsibility. Using any phase, when a Shadowkeeper's unit from your army is selected as the target of an attack, until the end of the phase, each time an attack is made against that unit, subtract 1 from the strength. Again, you send something to go fight a knight, it's got strength 8 attacks, it's wounding on 3s, now it's strength 7, I guess it's still wounding on 3s, but if it was using, I don't know, some giant super murder claw that's strength 10 and it goes down to 9, then you could make it only wound on 3s instead of on 2s. Although, there's a better 1 CP thing for that in here. Could be really good against, I don't know, what's a low strength thing? Or relatively low strength thing. Or something strength 5. Actually, Orc Boys is actually really good against. Some there's like spamming strength 5. Going to 5s to wound as opposed to 4s to wound. There's a few things that'd be cool for. Mostly you'd be buying it for the trait. Warlord trait Lock Warden. Each time an attack made by this warlord is allocated to a character, no invulse. Ha! Ha ha! Again, doubling down with rerolling wounds. Oh, you could definitely esteemed amalgam that as a little murder ball. Alright, Stasis Oubliette. It's a Shadowkeeper's model only. At the start of the fight phase, select 1 enemy unit within engagement range of the bearer. They're not eligible to fight until after all eligible units from your army have done so. So, a fight lasts every turn. Pretty cool. No restrictions on who it's used on, just has to be in engagement range of the bearer. The Dread Host. Alright, your traits. Each model in this unit makes an attack that's within 9 of the enemy. The armor penetration is improved by 1. So affects your, your melee attacks obviously, but also your shooting attacks that are close range. Pretty cool. And then reroll charge rolls for this unit, or for units with this trait. Golden Light of Morades for 2 CPs. For their strategic ploy, using your movement phase when a Dread Host unit set up from Golden Light until the start of the next turn, they're -1 to hit. And each time that attack unit declares a charge, enemy units can't overwatch or set to defend. So you have extra goldy light that you come from. Then your All-Seeing Annihilator. That's a great name for a warlord trait. In your command phase, select this warlord or a friendly core within 6 of this warlord. Until the start of the next command phase, unmodified hit rolls of 6 score an additional hit. It's pretty cool. And then your relic is the Admona Mortis, the all super desirable damage 3 Castellan Axe. So +3, -3, 3 damage. And then rapid fire 5, -1, 2 damage for its gun. Achillean Shield. Your traits are core units of this trait can perform heroic interventions, and each time an attack with an armor penetration characteristic of -1 is allocated to a model in this unit, it's treated as 0 instead. Pretty cool for armies. Like, I'm looking at you, Tau, you'd spam some 5-1 guns. That can be pretty dangerous to an army that's low model count and has 2+ saves. The shift from 3+ to 2+ means a lot, and so being able to keep it at a 2+ save it's cool. But again, you can cherry pick all of these using Esteemed Amalgam. Right, so it's in your command phase, you can't react with it, but you can still cherry pick if you really need to. The unit your opponent has to take off that objective and give them the Achillean Shield. Shield of Honor. Use stratagem in your opponent's shooting phase. When an enemy unit selected to shoot, select 1 Imperial infantry character from your army. Until the end of that phase, when the unit's within 6 of this friendly Achillean Shield core unit, they can't be targeted by ranged weapons. So you can just protect a character model from ever being shot by even those sniper models that can pick up character models, basically. Revered Companion. Have damage for attacks that are allocated to you. That's real good. And then Relic Presidius. It's for Achillean Shield models only. For Presidium Shield models only, sorry. You're -1 to the wound rolls when you make an attack against the bearer. So shooting and melee. The Solar Watch, +1 to advance and charge rolls, and if you have Implacable Vanguard, which is the bike ability to auto-run 6, they run 7 instead. And you can charge in a turn when you fell back. Those are your traits. Your Martial Kata is Callistus, and then Eagle Strike for 1 CP. Use stratagem in any phase when an enemy warlord is destroyed by a Solar Watch unit from your army. You make an example out of him, and the rest of the game, the whole enemy army is -1 to combat attrition tests, because you just put his head on a stick. Did you see what Brock did to that guy? At the start of your turn, I just a Venture Brothers reference, just thrown in there for you guys to enjoy. Sally Forth is your warlord trait. At the start of your charge phase, select 1 friendly Solar Watch infantry unit within 6 of the warlord. Until the end of the phase, the unit's eligible to charge even if they advanced. And then Swift Silver Talon replaces a Guardian Spear. You can shoot and charge when you fall back. That's a pretty handy ability. Basically, it's just a Guardian Spear otherwise. You're -2 AP on the gun, though, which is interesting. The Emissaries Imperius. Now this one I think is probably, if you're looking just like full cool sexy rules, this one might be the coolest. This is the one I think people will consider taking as like a core, like this is the one I want to have. But remember, you can still cherry pick these traits too. Trait number 1. At the start of the fight phase, if a unit with this trait's within engagement range of enemy units, it fights first. And then each model in this unit makes an attack. You can ignore any and all modifiers to the hit and wound roll. That's pretty great melee army right there. Or you just charge up a unit with that trait by using the amalgam. And then Into the Darkness for 2 or 3. Basically, you make a normal move before the game starts at the start of the first battle round. And you must end that move more than 9 from any enemy models. If both players have units that can do this, the person who's going first does it first. If it's 4 more models, it costs 3, otherwise it costs 2, and you can only use it once. And then Voice the Emperor. Now this is neat. Add 3 to all your auras. And then this world has the following ability, Voice of the Emperor. While you're within 9 inches of this model and you're a Custodia or Anathema Psychana unit, add 1 to your leadership characteristic. Your leadership, 12. It's so pointless, but also kind of cool. I mean, there are some psych powers where it's like dice off and out of your leadership. I guess that matters. But like you'll just never low dice it now because your mind is impregnable. And it does mean your Sisters of Silence get a little bit braver too, but like leadership 12 is just a bonkers stat. And then Relic, Halo of the Torchbearer. Really that ability is to affect this. The bearer has the following abilities. While friendly Emissary Imperius units within 3, so 6 because of Voice of the Emperor, it can ignore any and all modifiers to its move characteristic, advance rolls, and charge rolls. That's a huge deal, especially because there's like CP abilities in some armies that can slow down your charges, or even just terrain that's reducing your move. At the start of the fight phase, roll a d6 for each enemy unit within 3, now 6 of this model. Actually, sorry, it's not an aura. It's not an aura, so that one doesn't go up, it's still just 3. On a 3+, that enemy unit suffers a mortal wound, or D3 mortal wounds if their leadership characteristic is 7 or less. So you just run in the middle of an orc army and explode. So yeah, I feel like the top-downs, like this is my army and they all fight first. That's a kind of a cool overall ability. The other ones, again, you can kind of cherry pick in the command phase for different units. Now, because they're in the command phase and it kind of locks that unit until your next command phase, you are only doing like 1 unit, and you're going to telegraph it, but I mean, I like being able to use all of them if I want, is the other way of looking at it. So we'll see what people fall in with. I'm sure there will be some people that do the Emissaries Imperatus, just because it's an amazing ability to have everybody fight first, just shove all of your Custodians into the enemy, but we'll see. Just always be charging. All right, stratagems. So this is neat. This is divided into some pretty, obvious ones, some neat ones that are mixed in from more of the spider, from the ones that are only available to Sisters of Silence, and then some modified old ones too in here. So a few changes to buckle up for. Arcane Genetic Alchemy. If you're 3 or less models, 1 CP, otherwise it's 2 CPs. Can't move me on better than 4+. Transhuman Physiology for the Custodes. Can be used in any phase, so you can use it in the shooting phase and the combat phase at the same turn. Sweeping Advance, you can consolidate additional 3 inches for your bikers, so you can consolidate 6 instead of 3. Presidium Shield Wall, if the whole unit is armed with shields, then you're -1 to hit with melee attacks for 1 CP during the fight phase. I think people are still just going to put in a single model. Maybe not anymore, because there is no 3+ invulnerable save. Deathmark, 1 CP, and we'll talk about that later, so I just kind of threw that out there. Deathmark for 1 CP, this is a Vigilators one. You can pick a unit in your opponent's army at the start of the game. You reroll hit rolls against it forever, because they're the ones you're hunting. Avenge the Fallen, use it in the fight phase when Adeptus Custodes unit in your army is selected to fight until the end of the phase. If they're below starting strength, but not below half, they get +1 attack. If they're below half strength, add a 2 to the attack characteristic of models in that unit. It'll be neat to see people who unleash the Lions make the argument that the units are now below half, although they're units of 1 model. But their starting strength was 5 models. I wouldn't make that argument, but I can definitely foresee somebody's going to make that argument. Slayer of Nightmares. Now here's a good one. Use the stratagem in the fight phase. Remember we were talking about that Dread Host one? When a Custodes unit from your army is selected to fight until the end of the phase, each time a model in that unit makes an attack against a unit with a higher toughness than its own, add 1 to the wound roll. If it contains 3 or fewer models, it costs 1 CP, otherwise it costs 2. This is your Night Killer. So you send 3 bikes, they go charge, 4 attacks each, strength 7, -3, 2 damage with their spears. Already +1 to wound on the charge. you make them reroll hit and wound rolls against characters. So they're basically auto hitting 12 times, and they're hitting at 5s against the knight, goes to 4s because of the charge, goes to 3s because of this, and they're rerolling everything. So for 2 CPs, you could unless he spikes 6s and you didn't do anything with your shooting on the way in, you could just like one round a knight. 24 wounds. You could, with 12 of damage too, and he doesn't make any 6+ saves, you just go and explode a knight. And that's if it's not if it's at full. If you get it to like 18 or 16 wounds, you probably just kill it in one go. So a neat little ability there, and you can do some stuff with heroes and stuff too. Probably just kill a knight. But a little 1-2 CP combo we're probably going to see for going and fighting characters. Now this one doesn't require you to be a character either. It'll be a bonus gravy thing to get all those rerolls from stealing the additional, the additional traits. What's it called? The Shadowkeeper traits, sorry, not Dreadhost. Just their traits, yeah. If you're fighting characters, roll the win roll. Go fight! And then, what was I just looking at? Talons of the Emperor. Use this for when a Custodes unit from your army is within 6 inches of an Anathema Psychana unit until the end of the phase. Each time an attack in that Psychana unit makes an attack, they get +1 to hit. So you just, if you're sitting within 6 of a Custodes unit with your sisters, you spend a CP in any phase, they get +1 to hit because they're showing off. Purgation Sweep for Witch Seekers. When they're selected to shoot or fire Overwatch, you can use this for 1 CP until the end of the phase on one of the Strength of their Flamers. Vigil Unending for 2 CPs. Use this in the fight phase when a Adeptus Custodes character is destroyed. They fight before they're taken off. Cool. Wisdom of the Moritoi. Each Epic Deed Stratagem, it's for your Dreadnoughts. So any of your Dreadnoughts can do this. They pick either Aggressive Precision or Inspirational Warrior. So either hit rolls of 1 or wound rolls of 1. It's basically Heed the Wisdom of the Ancients for Custodes, for your core units. And he is a core unit, so he will benefit from it as well. Like your own Dread will benefit from it because I think all the Dreads are core. Although, not the Forge World ones, I'm pretty sure. Unless they got it in an FAQ. But I know that because they're older 9th edition releases, they might not have the core rule. I could be wrong about that. I haven't actually looked it up. I could just be making that up. But I know some units don't, like there's some weird old Codex things that don't have core right now because they're just left behind in the edition change. Although the FAQs may have fixed all that. Retribution of the Machine Spirit, 1 CP, your Lander goes to full wounds for determining its characteristics for the turn. In your command phase, and then Indomitable Engines for 1 CP. You get a 5+ Mortal Wound Shrug for your Custodes vehicles or Psychana vehicles, which is kind of cool. I mean, you already have a 6+ Wound Shrug for your Dreads for the Custodes anyway, and for your Land Raider. But you could get one for your Rhino, I guess, for a CP. Although going to a 5 for the rest of the phase could be handy. And it's in any phase until the end of that phase. And then Earning of a Name. This one's kind of cool. If a Custodes character kills another character, an enemy character in combat, you can either select a trait of a Shieldhouse fighting style they don't have and they get it until the end of the battle, or select one stance from Martial Kata until the end of the battle. That unit always benefits from that stance, even if a Martial Kata is not active in your army. So if you, for instance, use a character, that thing with the Slayer of Nightmares I was talking about, and you go and you buy the Shadowkeepers to reroll wounds, and then you jump in and you go fight a big thing like a Dread, or a Knight, and you kill it, and you can earn a name and just have that trait active for the rest of the game, on top of your normal traits. So, sure, why not? Open the Vaults, extra Relics, open Emperor's Heroes, extra Warlord traits. Also applies to the Anathema Psychana characters, so you can make them, and there's one kind of really tasty Psychana Warlord trait that you might want to take all the time. Victor of the Blood Games, get an extra Warlord trait on somebody for 1 CP, and then Eternal Penitent. You can only use this one once, so only one of your Dreads gets this, but they're +1 attacks. And you can reroll charge rolls for that unit, and if you could already reroll it, they get +1 to charge rolls instead. Fraternity of Heroes. Use Stratagem in the Heroic Intervention phase. For a Custodes unit, they can heroically intervene 6 instead of just 3. That's any unit, as if they're a character. Martial Discretion for 1 CP instead of 2. Use your command phase. After selecting a Kata stance and selecting a unit in your army, they get an additional Kata. And it costs 2 if there's 4. 1 if there's 4 or fewer, 2 if there's more than 4. Indomitable Guardians, using the fight phase after enemy units fought, select a Custodes unit that's next to an objective marker, and they can fight again. Or sorry, they fight immediately, sorry, not fight again. Basically, you have a 1 CP interrupt as long as you're holding an objective. That's pretty cool. It's Custodes units. It's anybody that isn't Sisters of Silence can go and do this for 1 CP. Unleash the Lion, same as before, 1 or 2 to break into squads of 1 with your Alorus Custodes. Shoulder the Mantle. This one's cool. When your Warlord's killed, for 1 CP, pick a unit that doesn't have a Warlord trait. Actually, just pick another hero unit, Warlord or character unit. That's a Custodes. they get that guy's warlord trait that died, if they don't have one, and they become your warlord. And anything that triggers off the warlord dying doesn't trigger unless they also kill this guy. And it's anywhere in the battlefield. So, yeah, you just get a backup warlord for 1 CP, which is pretty cool. Maneuver and fire. Use your Custodes units that can fly. Until the end of the turn, they're eligible to shoot even though they fell back. So interestingly, not tied to bikes, so the Forge-rolled flying Custodes would be able to shoot and fall back in the same turn for 1 CP. Desperation's Price. Using your opponent's psychic phase, if they perils, and they're within 18 of an Anathema Psychana unit, they take an additional D3 mortal wounds for 1 CP. They just get their souls sucked out. Emperor's Auspice for 1 or 2 CPs. Use it when they're targeted by an attack. You can't reroll hit, wound, or damage rolls against them. So that's a pretty cool. I mean, imagine you tie that up with Arcane Genetic Alchemy, and then you also Emperor's Auspice them, so nobody can reroll against them for the whole phase. That's pretty great. And then from Golden Light, put somebody into teleportation that doesn't already have that rule. Empiric Severance. Use a stratagem in your opponent's psychic phase. After they pass the psychic test and you failed to deny it, on a 4+, it's just gone for 1 CP. I love that. Such a screw you. It's a giant middle finger to... You got it through all these psychic units I have now. No. 50% chance of just no. Creeping Dread. It's an aura ability for any Anathema Psychana infantry unit for 1 CP. If you're within 6 of them and you're the enemy, you're -1 to hit. Any attacks. Rapid reactions for 1 CP. If someone falls back from your Adeptus Custodes infantry, they can shoot as if with the shooting phase, but they have to target that enemy unit. So if you fall back from them, they just gun you down. I love that. Covered Advance for your smoke screen units. You get to be -1 to hit against shooting. Tangle Foot Grenade. 1 CP. Use a stratagem in the start of your opponent's movement or charge phase and select a visible enemy unit within 12. And roll a d6. If your opponent's movement phase, they're minus that many inches. It's your charge phase, they're minus that much to their charge. That's a huge, like, giant screw you to, like, big things charging you. And can just stop things cold, too, because you could stop something that was going to suck up an Overwatch on, you know what I mean, on your unit. Like, they send that one last Grot in that you don't want to bother Overwatching against. And then you actually shoot the thing, like the character that was going to come into you. Although you can do it while you're engaged, so I guess it doesn't really matter. Teleport over for 1 CP, move someone away, and then you can either put them next to a Vexillus Praetor or a Leia model, and more than 9 from the enemy. So you just teleport somebody out when they're selected to move at the start of your movement phase. Sorry, in your movement phase. And the reinforcements up to that same movement phase, they just show up next to a banner or a Leia. If the battle ends and that Custodes teleport homer unit's not in the battlefield, they're destroyed. So I don't know who teleport homer units are. It's probably the Terminators, I would imagine, but that's a pretty cool ability to just bamf them around. Let's have a look here. Custodians, yep, they have teleport homer. Your regular guys don't. Your Vexillus Praetor and Terminator, it's all your Terminators have teleport homer. So you can just redeploy your Terminators, basically, for a CP, next to a banner. Or a Leia. And then Psychic Grenades, use it when an Anathema Psychana infantry unit selected to shoot. If that unit's not within engagement range of the enemy, roll a die. On a d6, the closest enemy psychic unit within 6 suffers a perils. But you can't double down on this because it's in the shooting phase, not the psychic phase. All right, Captain Commander. So these are like your flavor buys. They cost points between 10 and 25. There's 9 of them, 1 for each different type of shield captain. And it basically levels you up. It's your chapter command abilities, right? There's one I like the most. I don't know if it's the best one, but I do like it. And it's the Alaris ones. But we'll start with the Guardian Shield Captain ones. Master stances in your command phase. Select a Custodes core or character unit within 6 of this model. Until the start of your next command phase, they benefit from both stances of your current kata. This model can only use this ability if every unit in your army is Custodes, Psychana, or Agent of the Imperium and unaligned. So you have to be a this book army. Or you can buy, and that one costs 25, the most expensive of the whole. And then Swift as an Eagle, you can charge in advance. It's pretty cool. That one costs 15. Inspirational Exemplar, you get 3 extra inches to your Inspirational Fighter ability, to a maximum of 12. So if you doubled that down with Voice of the Emperor, you have a 12-inch reroll 1s attack, or ability. Now, the Alaris Shield Captain one's this is my favorite one. Unstoppable Destroyer. Each time you make a pylon, you get to move an additional inch. So you pylon or consolidate 1 inch. And every time you make a pylon or heroic intervention, you go any direction as long as you finish the move with the engagement of an enemy unit. So you can just plow through and around models, and you can move even if you're in base contact. So you're just you just move wherever you want with your pylons. Super handy when you're OBSEC to get towards stuff, and you can leave one combat and join another as long as you get to engagement range. And you move 4. So pretty cool. And it's each time you make a pile in or heroic intervention move. So you could go pile in and then consolidate, right? And like move 8 inches during the combat to wherever you want to be. I love that ability. And it's only 10 points. So it's cheap. Bane of Abominations. This one's probably going to be more popular, and it's priced at 15. Each time this model makes a melee attack against a monster, vehicle, or character, you're +1 to wound. And then Defiant to the last. If this model has less than its starting number of wounds, but more than half, it adds 1 attack. And then less than half, it adds 2 to its attacks. And that one costs 20 points. The Virtus Shield Captain one's Fierce Conqueror for 15. Each time it's selected to fight, after it piles in, if it's within 2 inches of 6 or more enemy models, it gets 2 extra attacks. And then Ceaseless Hunter, this model is eligible to charge when it falls back for 20. And then Tip of the Spear, when it charges or heroically intervenes, you can reroll wound rolls of 1. And then traits. Now you can double these down, remember, and actually Alea has Oblivion Knight, Trajan's got Champion of the Imperium and Master of Martial Strategy, and then Valerian is Peerless Warrior. So there can be a lot of extras here. So Master of Martial Strategy, it's a 5+ refund for your command points, and once per battle, you can change the order of your kata stances. And so you've got that one on Trajan, and then he also has Champion of the Imperium, which is you can heroically intervene with if you're within 6, and you can move 6, and just reroll all your attacks to hit. Like just reroll all your misses, just do it all the time. Good old Trajan, built-in rerolls. Now, Superior Creation is going to be more popular probably than ever. It's a 5+ wound shrug, and with the loss of 3+ invulnerable saves, that's going to go up in value. Impregnable Mind, you can deny the Witch, and you count as 2 models for additional models for OBSEC. So you count as 4 models now for OBSEC with your hero. And then Radiant Mantle, -1 to hit him, and Peerless Warrior, each time a warlord makes a melee attack. If you roll a 6 to wound, you get a mortal wound on top of your normal damage, and you can't reroll saving throws against him anytime. Saving throws cannot be rerolled. Now, the Anathema Psychana ones, Oblivion Knight, which is add 1 of the advanced and charge rolls for Psychana units that are within 6 of them, and each time a warlord makes an attack, reroll wound rolls of 1. But Silent Judge is the cool one. While enemies are within 3 of this warlord, each time a combat attrition test is made, they're -1, and the enemy unit loses OBSEC. Ho! That's going to be a tasty one to buy, and just have a little extra character wander around and go and take away OBSEC, because your whole army pretty much is OBSEC. Mischief Persecution is the last one. While Anathema Psychana infantry units are within 6 of this warlord, each time a model in there makes an attack, the target does not get heavy or light cover, and add 3 to their weapon ranges. So 15-inch flamers, pretty cool. But not as cool as Silent Judge, which is wicked. All right, we're into Relics. Eagle's Eye. All right, there's some relics here that changed significantly that were very popular. Eagle's Eye is going to probably be one of them. You get +1 wounds, and once per battle, you have a 3+ invulnerable save until the end of a phase. So no more. That's 3+ invulnerables are just gone except for once per game. The Auric Aquilas, biker model only, reroll charge rolls, and if you could already reroll them, then add +1 to charge rolls. In your movement phase, if you boost, you can double your move characteristic, but you can't shoot or charge. Then Gatekeeper, it's a Guardian Spear, strength 5 -2 damage for its gun, and then +2 -3 2 damage for its melee attack, but its gun automatically hits. That's pretty cool. The Veiled Blade for a Sentinel Blade, it is 4 -1 2 damage in shooting, and +1 -4 2 damage in melee, but you get 2 extra attacks with it. The Obliteratum, which is basically a tachyon arrow for the Custodes Ballesteros Grenade Launcher. Assault 1, Strength 10, -4, D3 +3 damage. That's a spicy meatball to shoot every turn. The Fulminaris Aggressor, it's for a Vexillus Praetor only. You gain the following aura ability. While a friendly Shield House Core characters within 6, each time a model in that unit makes an attack, the target does not benefit from heavy or light cover. Praetorian Plate, for Terminators, +1 toughness, and once per battle in the heroic intervention step of your charge phase. If you're not in engagement range, you can teleport Shunt. So during the charge phase, when it's time to heroically intervene after all your opponent's charges, you just pick them up from anywhere on the table, put them within 3 of one of your units that's also in engagement range of the enemy. Done. He heroically intervenes from anywhere on the table to anywhere you want. This is a cool ability. The Castellan's Mark, at the start of the first battle round, you can just redeploy 2 Shield Host units. Or put them into strategic reserves. And then the Wrath Angelus, Vexillus Praetor models only. Once per battle in your command phase, If the bear is on the battlefield, select a point on the table and roll a, the start of your next command phase, roll a d6 for each enemy unit within, for each unit within 6 of the center, adding 1 if they're within 3 of the center, and subtracting 1 if they're a character. On a 2 to 5, take d3 mortal wounds. On a 6, take d6 mortal wounds, and the marker's removed. So you call down the space multispectral targeting shrine, and then guide in trans-atmospheric strikes. Relics of the Vigil, these are for your sister's characters, and you got a Raptor Blade, it's just a +3, -4, 2 damage Great Blade. Excruciatus Flamer, Assault 6, 6 -3, 1 damage, auto hits. And then an Enhanced Void Sheen Cloak, 4+ invul, and when someone attacks, you subtract 1 from the hit and wound roll. All right, so now we're into match play rules. We got our sweet, sweet additional secondaries we can take. Now, unlike the last one I was really happy with, was just the Death Guard one, these aren't so narratively linked. And some of them feel like, I don't know, some of them feel like big plays, if that makes sense. Like they're big gambly plays if you take them. So Might of Terra is 1. Score 4 victory points at the end of the battle round if 1 or more enemy units were destroyed this battle round and no Custodes or Psychana units from your army were destroyed this battle round. That's kind of cool, but if you're playing MSU, which is going to be fairly popular, it might be difficult to pull off. Unless you're not taking Anathema Psychana units or you're hiding them really well. That one's, it's cool, don't be wrong, but it's not guaranteed. Almost any army can, I guess in 5 turns, you want to try and score 15 off it. You need to score it 4 times out of 5 turns. You might score, you can't, no, you can't usually score these round 1. No, you can score these round 1, just not the majors. Yeah, it's a big play though. Your opponent can stop you from doing it by finishing off units, basically is what I'm saying. Stand Vigil, it's progressive. Score 3 victory points at the end of the battle round if you control more objective markers and are not within either player's deployment, something your opponent does. With your whole army being OBSEC, this feels like a good one. But again, it's mission dependent. You want there to be more, I guess it's actually best for you if there's one in the middle and you can just camp it. But then your opponent would have to not within either player's deployment zone. Yeah, you need to have neutral objectives and then, be able to hold more. And then Auric Mortalis, if you select this objective, then before the battle, you must select 1 unit from your opponent's army that has the Primarch or Supreme Commander keyword to be marked for death. If no such unit exists, then the highest value non-aircraft unit is selected to be marked for death. At the end of the battle, calculate how many victory points, a minimum of 0 you score for the objective as follows. 5 if they're destroyed, 5 if the unit you selected to be marked for death was destroyed as a melee attack from a Custodes or Anathema Psychana unit. 5 if both of the above are true and the unit you selected to be marked for death was destroyed more than 6 from your deployment zone. And -2 for each unit from your army that the unit you selected to mark for death destroyed themselves. So, again, big play. I feel like Might of Terra and maybe Stand Vigil is probably the one you maybe will always take because you're all OBSEC now and you're playing into that gimmick. Might of Terra, maybe. I don't know. Auric Mortalis, unless you're playing an opponent who has an MSU army where his most expensive model isn't a Primarch or Supreme Commander and is also not that impressive, I don't know that you would take that one. But, I mean, army, opponent dependent, it could actually be really good. Big color page. And then Crusade rules. Okay, so this one's cool because it's all about being space detectives. You're all going out into the galaxy and you're attempting to do different agendas that are about investigating threats to the Emperor, basically. So you're kind of like the space FBI, which I think is really cool. Your Pursuit of Excellence is one. At the end of the battle, the Custodes unit from your army with the lowest number of experience point gains an experience for each of the stalling. So basically, all of your units that you're just recently adding to your order of battle can catch up quickly by doing Pursuit of Excellence. If they weren't destroyed, if they control objective marker, if their combat tally of enemy units is destroyed during the battle is 1 or more, and the unit has the highest combat tally for your army of destroyed units. So those first 3 are pretty easy to do, which means you'd be scoring 4 experience points for that unit in their first battle to go in. So Pursuit of Excellence is really cool because it levels you up pretty fast. Bound for the Dark Cells is kind of cool. You're trying to lock a objective. Basically, you're recovering evil artifacts. So you get an action to do it with, and then you want to hold at the end of the game for bonus experience. Great Tithe. You're trying to get enemy psychers. Shed the Black. If you have a battle scar, you're basically trying to do the Pursuit of Excellence stuff, and you can either, if you get 2 or more experience points from the agenda, you also remove one of your battle scars. And then Judgment Delivered. At the end of the battle, if there's no models from the Adeptus enemy army remaining on the battlefield, all of your units gain 3 experience points. I like that one too. Just go kill everything. Requisitions: buy your captain commanders, buy artifacts, earn a name, and then honor advancements for your core units. Fun battle traits, make you cooler fighting. And then if your crusade includes Trajan, Valoris, or a shield captain, then you are not currently on an endeavor. You can claim the Magisterium Lex Ultima before a battle. So basically you're trying to do like bonus side missions. So your imperatives, you have to roll to see what they are. So like it could be complete 2 battles in which you earned experience points from the battlefield supremacy agendas, or martial supremacy. End of the battle, at least twice as many enemy units were destroyed than friendly units. Or kill a warlord, cut off the head. It's basically little extra ways of, the Emperor says go do this. And then dishonor. If your crusade forces claim Magisterium Lex Ultima, but endeavor is abandoned, you get dishonored. So you have to try and do it. Lots of cool relics and artifacts. And you get your own special battle scars. Your honor's blemished. Your shield captain can lose inspirational fighter, and each time the model makes a melee attack, reroll a hit and wound roll of 1. So they gain their own inspirational fighter, but everybody loses it. It's a cool battle scar. And then you get your cool name generators, like Archimalis Jaliani. Oh no, wait, that's the silence one. Pydenoris Talorn, Borsa Tycor. Oh, Custodes, you're so crazy. Pictures of Crusade Army. And all right, here we go, into the data sheets. So, what do we got here? All right, so you gain Aegis of the Emperor, 4+ invul. So no more 5+, but if you're a detachment +1, it's just, everybody has a 4+ invul. 6+ wound stroke with mortal wounds. Daughters of the Abyss can't be targeted by psychic powers, and if you take a psychic test within 18 of them, you're -1 to a maximum -3 for each unit. So like if there's 3 units, you're -3. And then each time an attack is made by a model in this unit targets a psychic or a demon, add 1 to the attack's wound roll, because they're just scared of these guys. And then from Golden Light is just teleport. Martial Katas we've already seen. Each of them has 2. And we've already talked to our community about how these go. Basically, you pick 3 of these, you put them in the order you want them to appear over the course of the battle, and then you pick either 1 or 2 from 1 or move to 2. Sorry, 1 or 2 from 1, then the next turn, either do the one you didn't do from 1 or move to 2 for 1 or 2, and basically you flow through them for the course of the game. Callista, stance 1, roll additional d6 and discard. Stance 2, each time this unit makes a normal move, you count stationary for shooting, or you advance. Conservi, you can perform an action even if you advanced or fell back. And stance 2, if you're performing an action, you can shoot without it failing. That's going to be really handy for, again, agendas and stuff in the Crusade rules. Dakatari, if enemy unit piles in or consolidates, if it starts that move within engagement range of this unit, subtract 2 from the distance models, and that unit can move or pound or consolidate. Each time this unit fights, it can use this ability. If it does so, add 1 to its attacks, but reduces damage to 1. So if you're fighting 1 wound things, you don't need damage 2, you just gain an extra attack instead. Salvus, add 4 to the range of your guns, and then stance 2, if you're infantry and you don't advance in the movement phase, in the following shooting phase, if it's not in engagement range, you can use, the unit can shoot twice with auric weapons they're equipped with. So basically, you gain the rapid fire ability. Rendak, stance 1, each time a model in this unit makes an attack that targets a vehicle or monster, an automatic hit roll of 6 automatically wounds. Super handy. Each time a model in this unit makes a melee attack against a vehicle or monster, if that unit made a charge or was charged, add 1 to its strength. Captaris, stance 1, each time a melee attack is made against this unit, the hit cannot be re-rolled. And then stance 2, each time an enemy model, excluding vehicles or monsters within engagement range of the infantry units from your army, selected to fall back, roll off and add 1 if their unit can fly. If you win, that enemy unit cannot fall back this turn, so you can make them not be able to run away. All right, we're into data slates. I scanned but didn't see too much that was different. Honestly, it's hard to, the core stats for these guys are so beefy, it's really hard to, I think, change them very much. I think we got extra few attacks here and there, but for the most part, everybody just kind of got what they got. Trajan, he is pretty much the same. 6-inch move, gain a wound, gain an attack, gain a leadership. His Aegis and Martial Kata are as explained. He's got a 5+ wound stroke from his adamantium mantle. Captain General, if you're Battleforged, he's your warlord. If more than one model is, he's always your warlord, in addition to other people being your warlord. And if, then one of the models must be your army's warlord. So you buy additional warlords, but he's always your warlord. And then you receive an additional command point, and this model gains 2 warlord traits instead of 1. So that's why he's got 2 warlord traits. Legendary Commander, he can get people who are core to reroll hits and wound rolls of 1 within 6. And then Moment Shackle, at the end of the fight phase, you can fight again, once per battle. When a saving throw is failed, the damage is reduced to 0 once per battle, and after an enemy unit's fought, if this model is eligible to fight, you can fight with it next. Although there's already if you're near an objective, there's already a CP trait to do that one. So you'll probably use it to fight twice, or keep him alive. Shield Captain, I think got an extra wound. How'd you do here, Shield Captain? You got extra wound? Yep. You got an extra attack, and an extra 2 leadership. You get Inspirational Fighter for reroll hit rolls of 1. I'm betting the Alorus Terminator got an additional wound as well. Shield Captain Alorus Terminator armor. Yep, 1 extra wound, 1 extra attack, 2 extra leadership. We've already seen their stat changes in Shadow Throne, so I'm not going to spend too much time here. Jet Bike Hero. You got 2 extra wounds, an extra attack, and 2 extra leadership. Your move's the same. Your Interceptor Lance looks like it's the same. Went to flat 2 damage instead of D3. Blade Champion we've already seen. Valerian, you got your own slate, which is cool. And then 2 extra wounds. No, 1 extra wound. No, 1 extra wound. Extra attack, 2 extra leadership. He's got Inspirational Fighter, so he's still a captain. Hero of the Lion's Gate. He's always got Transhuman going, so you only ever win him on a 4+. And then Golden Laurels, once per battle round, you can reroll a hit, wound, charge, or saving throw made for this model. And then Alea, get anything cool? Extra attack. Yeah, extra attack. Cadre Tactics, reroll wound rolls of 1. She's basically a lieutenant. And then 5+ invul, Tenacious Spirit. At the start of the fight phase, if this model is in engagement range of any enemy units, it fights first. In addition, if this model is destroyed in the fight phase before it's fought, it gets to fight after attacking models' units have finished making attacks. After resolving this model's attacks, it's then removed. So if you have like 2 units that can fight first, you roll off and they get to go first, then she can still fight afterwards. And the cool new Knight Centura, we saw her on Warhammer Community. She's basically the same stat line with 1 less attack than Alea. And she can choose to be any of the 3 types. So she can have a Mastercrafted Bolt Gun, a Witchseeker Flamer, or an Executioner Great Blade. 5+ invul, and the same reroll wound rolls of 1. Custodian Guards, I think you're almost identical. I think you got Leadership 11, which is everybody got, because, you know, it's the meme leadership at this point. Yep, Leadership 11. They were Leadership 8 before. It's such a huge jump. We've already seen their weapons. They're the same as the weapons in the Custodians from Shadow Throne. Prosecutors, their core. Just ladies with guns, Custodian Wardens, 6+ wound shrug, and Watchmen. If you shield those characters within 3 of them, you can't shoot them with ranged weapons, which is, I think, a very cool reason to take them. They can have Castellan axes or spears, so they're just basically guardians. They have extra attack, which is cool. Alorus. The Vexilus Praetors, pretty much the same. Again, big leadership jump of 2. Extra wound goes to 6. The shields or the banners are the same as on the Alorus, which we saw in Shadow Throne. Our Venerable Contemptor Dreadnought. What do you got going on, buddy? You lost a wound. What? But you gained an attack. Yay! And you gained 3 leadership. Oh my god. Your Carries Pattern Stormbolter, I think, is exactly the same. Yep. I wish it was just 2 damage. Multi-Meltas, still the better option, I think. I built mine with the carries, though. And then Guardian Eternal, -1 damage to your attacks, 6+ wound shrug, automatic shielding for a 5+ invul, and you explode on a 6. Vigilators, same as in Shadow Throne, same with the Witch Seekers. Virtus Praetors, gain some leadership, obviously. Their spear went to flat 2 damage, their Interceptor Lance, and it's also +2 strength now, and +1 to wound on the charge. Not re-rolling, but again, we can buy that, so there's a workaround there. Hurricane Bolt is the same. Your Salvo Launcher is 8 -4, D3 +3, but lost the rerolls. So, more consistent damage, lost the rerolls, but again, there's some workarounds for that that are useful that you can probably probably get in when you need them. And then always run 6 for Implacable Vanguard. Venerable Land Raider, it's the same, 6+ Moon Shrug. I really wish they'd given the Venerable Land Raider the Contemptor's Guardian Eternal. If they'd given it that, I'd consider using it. I'm gonna paint mine, but it needs a little extra something. The Land Raider is just not what it used to be. 2+ ballistic skills, sweet, but yeah, I don't know. 6+ Moon Shrug is sweet. I just think that you need to give it a little bit more resilience. And then it's a Rhino. A Rhino's a Rhino. That's it. Point values. Alea, she's 75 points. Blade Champions, 110. Knight Centura is 50, and to give her a Great Blade's 5. Shield Captains are 110. 5 for Misericordia, 10 for Presidium Shield. Oh, I forgot to go through that. Presidium Shield. Because the Custodian Guards, that has changed. The reason I keep saying it's not a Storm Shield, or it's not +1 armor save anymore, or +1 invul anymore, it's just +1 armor save. That's all it does. So if you have a Presidium Shield, it costs you 5 extra points, and it gives you +1 armor saving throws. So you get what a Storm Shield does now, but it doesn't add your invulnerable save. So that's why there's no more 3+ invuls. They changed it. Shield Captain Alaris armor, 125. Misericordia is 5. Dawn Eagles are 170 with 5 for Misericordia and 5 for a salvo launcher. Trajan's 170, went down 20 points. Valerian's 140. Custodians are 45 each with 3 for a Misericordia and 5 for a shield. Prosecutors are 12 points each, so 60 for 5 for that basic button pushing unit. The Elites, the Alaris Custodians are 65 with 3 for Misericordia. Wardens are 50 with 3 for a Misericordia. And then the Venerable Contemptor Dreadnought is 155 points. Any weapons. Just get it, the Multi-Melt Ash. Why didn't you build the Multi-Melta? The Vexillus Praetor is 105. The Vexillus Praetor and Terminator armor is 115 with 5 for Misericordia. Vigilators are 14 each. Virtus Praetors are 85 with 5 for, so 90 with a salvo launcher, so 270 for the full unit, 279 if they all have Misericordias, 3 each. Witch Seekers are 14 each. Venerable Land Raiders 285, 5 for a Hunter Killer, 5 for a Stormbolter, so 295. And then Anathemas Lycaon Rhino 75 with 5 for a Hunter Killer Missile. And that's it. And we're done. So, neat. They're not that different. I mean, I feel like the Grey Knights companies gave them a bit more difference than this. I do really like the ability to just cherry pick, though. I think this is going to be one of those books where you need to know what your options are all the time. I don't feel overwhelmed by the number of options here, though. I feel like I'll be able to hold all, if I play as like the core like Emperor's Chosen, I'll be able to remember, oh, right now I could do, it'll take some practice, but oh yeah, I can cherry pick this ability for this unit this turn. It'll go off and do what I want it to do. And that's probably going to be the strength of this army, is its flexibility, unless you dive into one of the shield hosts like Solar Watch or Dread Host or Shadow Keepers. And I feel like the very popular one will probably be the Always Fight First in melee. But again, you can just situationally pick it for a CP. And I don't know how many CPs you're going to pregame spend. So just being able to buy the Emissaries Imperialis when you need it to always fight first. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But as always, I think if you're looking for a 40k army to start that's low model count, it's actually relatively inexpensive. I think my army is 2 boxes of Terminators, 2 boxes of Custodians, a Dread, 2 boxes of like the Ladies and Trajan, and then a box of the bikes. They're like $70 each. So what did I say here? I said like 2 for Trajan. So 4 $70 boxes. So $300-ish. Probably less than $500 for the army. Which for a 40k army is actually, for 2,000 point 40k army is actually relatively cheap at this point. Which is crazy to say out loud, but it is. And it's low model count, easy to paint, and it's probably going to be it does what it says on the tin, powerhouse kind of, if we're thinking of Timmy, Johnny, Spike from Magic the Gathering, this is going to be probably a fun Timmy army to play with. It'll be straightforward. It'll probably, people who play with it a lot probably be able to get pretty good with it, because it does have some 9th edition tricks. The all obsec stuff is pretty crazy. The low model count is going to be confusing because it'll be easy to hide in that big chunky tournament train and stuff that's going around right now too. because it has a small footprint. So being able to sit, be OBSEC, turn off OBSEC with warlord traits, and play the missions, I feel like a deft 40k hand, which I am not in any way, shape, or form, can probably do some pretty cool damage with these guys. And I like the fact that even though they're low model count wise, they have some tricks up their sleeves to be able to take objectives and just play the mission game. So we'll see how it goes. Anyway, big thanks for watching. We'll see you for more GMG reviews in the future. Till then, I'm Ash. Have a good night. Hey there, I hope you enjoyed that video. There are tons of other games all recorded for you to watch. Click over to my channel page if you haven't already, and have a look to the dozens of playlists full of videos. I guarantee you'll discover a game you haven't seen played before. I put out new videos 7 days a week, and every day is themed to a different genre as I continue to explore the wider world of gaming. Of course, none of that's possible without you, the viewer, so click a like and subscribe if you'd like to stay on top of what's happening here daily. My two kids and I are massively grateful to be able to have the flexibility of this job so I can always maximize my time with them. If you want to support me continuing to put out this content, it's only possible because of my amazing backers on Patreon who support the studio, equipment, and model cost, as well as being how I make the bulk of my living. You can also help out by buying a t-shirt through Spreadshirt, a measuring gauge or widget from Death Ray Designs, or buying one of my games and supplements like Last Days, Gamma Wolves, and Blaster. As a way of showing my appreciation, patrons get early access to new games and supplements that I write throughout the course of the year. Huge thanks for watching, it really does help out, and happy gaming.